today we are here with Brick City, and we have Charlemagne McCarter, and he actually has his own podcast. So, Charlemagne, excuse me, uh, tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Uh, Podcast is Brick City. It's an acronym, building rich, intelligent culture, keeping it simple. Uh, it transformed to a podcast off of radio show that I started back during the pandemic. I was on a radio podcast, and that's how I started it. And Brick City is mainly just a community-based podcast um, to let you tell your story. You know, if you have an event coming up, or you had an issue you had in your past, I had a breast cancer survivors, I had individuals that started, that wrote books, just anything community-based is a positive thing in our community. And our community is worldwide. So I have guests from all over the world.
So, I know that you're really active in the community, and quite recently, you actually did a speaking or a speech for the local community service.
Yeah.
So, exactly what was that, and how did that affect you in the way that you did that for them?
Okay. So basically, that was for the NAACP. I was actually a facilitator for that event. MC, in layman terms, just basically kept the flow of the program, just kept it flowing, kept it moving. Also engaged the crowd and just keep everything flowing in a positive, smooth manner, not escalating. When it escalate, de-escalate. So basically, just crowd control, and also just help with facilitate and make sure everything's stay in a timely manner. With me, that definitely was good because we discussed black media, right, which is important in the state of the world we live in. Black media is you and I, now, because we have the opportunity to use our cell phones and create our own media. So if you have things going on in your community, things going on at your child's school, anything, you pop out your cell phone, that becomes our media outlets now, because, sometimes the sources that we might tap into that are broadcast across the airwaves may not tell our story in our community, may not tell what's really going on. So now in our community, in the black community, we definitely going to have to become our own media, and utilizing things that I'm using right now, which is unique creations. That's definitely a part of black media.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and it makes me think of a level of awareness and providing a platform so that you can reach the youth. I know that we've talked in the past, and you work with schools in guiding some of the young adults for future. So, can you give us a little bit of understanding of what you're doing and what you're trying to improve or help the youth with in today's environment?
Basically, I started out just being present, just showing my face in the school. Gravitated to assisting with programs actually in the digital space, where we take kids out in the community, and it's a big gap between these new generations and the older generations, like the baby boomers, and it's a huge gap, digitally and socially, right? So we're taking the kids in the community and mainly try to focus on the elderly population to help them with their devices, iPads, uh, Galaxy Pads, whatever it may be, to try to help them be more proficient, able to utilize that, because everything is in the digital space. You access your health records, everything from a digital space now. So me connecting with those kids, it allowed them to learn something from the elders, which may be respect, an opportunity for them to talk to individuals they generally wouldn't talk to. And I think that's the disconnect between the younger individuals in our community and the elders. Is that huge gap, but digital space has, and we're using that to bridge that gap. and that's why I like volunteering and try to be involved with that.
I think that's really commendable what you're doing with the young people of today. I remember doing a post and I was asking about respect and us being the next generation, have we dropped the ball in trying to prepare our youth? Do you see these things that you're doing help them kind of get respect for the elderly and kind of bring them back to a social atmosphere where there's unity in the house? How does your role help the kids get developed in trying to find their way in a place in society?
Um, it, First of all, it allows them to create their social skills. First of all and foremost, social skills is a major disconnect because they feel that first of all, their parents is the dumbest people in the world, and then
I
they're
know what you're saying.
and then next, the interaction with the teacher it's like that authoritarian figure. Sometimes you don't want to always have that type of grip and that type of influence all the time, and allowing them to go in the community and see other individuals that opens up their vision to say, hey, you know, I need to respect this person, or they see this person in the community now that may have walked past them that might have policed them up. You know what I'm saying? When they in a jam, that they might have been in an instance where, just say for instance, they was in a store and they got accused of something, right? Them being in the community and helping people might recognize, hey, this is the kid. This is not nothing that this kid would do. You know what I'm saying? And have another voice. And then from the child's perspective, they need to hear other voices other than at home, especially if it's a positive voice, because they have enough negativity on social media right now that they see. So just allowing those two aspects of it from both ends, because the elders feel the kids know nothing, but then the kids feel the elders don't know nothing. So you got two
Right.
individuals that feel no one knows nothing,
Yeah.
but when you come together, actually can learn something from both both population of individuals.
That's pretty smart. I like the approach that you're taking, and you said something about this parents not being the smartest people on earth, but you can take an outsider and they can say the same thing that the parents say, and it resonates with the kids well.
Instantly.
So I think that's really really good.
Yeah.
You also have by your presence has made me think about something because I had a question about mentorship
Mm-hmm.
and in today's environment
Mm-hmm.
has mentorship gone away because back in my day there was always somebody that you were looking for to mentor you, not because you didn't have a dad or a mom in the house,
Right.
but there was somebody that experienced the growth that you were desiring to have, and this person could help develop you to get in that position. So do you look at yourself as being a mentor for these youth, and are you associated with a group of people that are mentors to the youth?
Mm-hmm. Both of the questions. Answer both of them. First, mentorship is definitely has taken a drastic turn. I would say because it's hard to find individuals that's willing to give up their free time to mentor, and I've seen that's been a lot of frustration when trying to start organizations that provide mentorship. Um, as far as me being a part of the association, no, I'm not. I'm just an individual. I started going to. I was asked to come to the school and speak to a youth group many years ago, and then I just, from that point on, just started gravitating and doing what I can when I can. I'm not able to be there all the time, but if it's a call, or they need my presence, I try to be there. My church very involved with this particular school, which is Welcome Middle, north of the river. We help with cookouts. We help with the teacher appreciations, things of that nature. So whatever we could do. In our men group, we the ones that could get off work during the school, because like I said, we're in the blue collar town. So when you're in a blue collar town, you're dealing with 9 to 5 shift work, 12-hour shifts. It's hard to mentor, when you're working and then you're trying to rest and then you have your family of your own. I've been blessed, my kids are doing fairly well. They've moved on, they have their own life. So it allowed me to give back. I used to coach back in the day. That was my mentor back then. So now I found other ways because I'm not coaching anymore. You see, everybody want to be LeBron and Kobe, and they don't have it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna air my dirty laundry with the conversation that we had, but I
Right.
also know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, I think, and I'm just seeing this. We were both raised in the church. We've
Right.
talked about that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm seeing nowadays that there's a a lessening or a shallower approach towards religion to our children. I don't know if it started with taking prayer out of school. I'm not trying to be on any kind of political side,
Right.
but I just noticed that there is a decline in the way that kids see things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it's morality or
Mm-hmm.
anything of that nature, but that there's something that's different
Mm-hmm.
with what you're doing. Does that kind of infuse religion in with social, how can I say this? Social obedience to have compliance to
Mm-hmm.
capacity. I mean, not make. Not, no, hold on. Let me change that.
Yeah.
To have a way that they respect
Mm-hmm.
the community. They
Mhm.
respect people that they interact with. Because to your point, if you can't talk to a child and they don't feel like anything that you have to say is worth hearing,
Mm-hmm.
then there is a rebellious spirit, and all of us go through rebellious spirits. I mean, it's just inevitable. So with this and what you do, I guess the opposition. What kind of things have you felt with religion and
Mm-hmm.
guiding these children that affect the way that you're reaching them?
Yeah. In a nutshell, basically, with anything, right? If you was forced to do something,
Yeah,
you tend to gravitate from that.
yeah, you're right.
And I'm gonna just step away from the religion for 1 second here. It's just like being a minority in farming. Back in the day, you had to, you was forced to farm, during slavery. Then the sharecropper era. Then you went for the sharecropper era to the families that, they had kids just to work on the farm. If you was one of those kids working on that farm, once you got away from that farm, you didn't want to go back to farming. And I think that's what happened with going and going to church. We was forced to go. We was forced to do this. Now, morale wise, did it help some of us? Yeah. But then, morale wise, did it hurt some of us? Yeah. Because some of the same people we went to church with are strung out on whatever.
Yeah.
Or sipping whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and like you said, so it went both ways there, and like you said, once you're forced to do something and you stop, it's kind of hard to gather yourself to go back to it. Now, as far as me dumping, and like I said, I don't like to force anything on anybody, right? So I let them know where I'm at, where I stand, as far as my faith, right? Um, if they have questions, hey, we're gonna try to find the answers for them. But we don't force and say, hey, we're not doing this unless you come to our service on Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
We because you reach the community through giving, right? So we give our time, we give, fund it monetarily, as well. So it's just like my mom even made donations. She made cookies. And you're familiar with those.
Oh, yes, I am.
And so it's just like, when people start seeing that you care, you're gonna have some that's gonna be manipulative to the fact, but then you're gonna have others and be like, hey, how can I be a part of what you're doing and better me and become, like you said, a reflection of yourself, because they'd be like, well, I want to be like you when I grow up, I want to be able to help people. So from that standpoint, I don't force, I don't really discuss unless it's brought to me, and like I said, that's a simple fact of where the society we live in. I don't want to be at the school saying that I'm trying to recruit kids to come to my church or
Oh yeah,
recruiting
that makes
Christianity.
sense.
And I had a conversation with an individual this morning, and we was just talking about that. Like, should you not associate with the individual because they're atheists, or because they're Muslim, or their religious beliefs? Does that denounce them as a good person or a bad person?
Oh, absolutely not.
And that's why I said I think sometimes now when you talk to them and say, hey, this is what I got going on, and you tell them your experience, you have to be open to listen to their experience,
Oh,
right?
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Now, and it's just like when I had the media thing last week. I told the audience, I said, don't always get the same perception of media, right? The news. Sometimes you need to go watch the F news channel, the C news channel,
Absolutely.
the C news channel, the other outlets, because then you get a huge roundabout perspective
Right.
of how the narrative.
Yeah.
So you know how to handle situations at times.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know how they're coming at you, how can you handle it?
I've always, when I got into conversations like that, I would say, help me understand, because I know and I perceive things to be a certain way, and
Right.
I'm not exactly right all the time. You can ask
No.
my wife; she'll tell you that. But once you get another person's perspective,
Right.
it helps you kind of develop
Good or
a
bad.
good, right,
Good or
exactly.
bad.
And to your point with atheists, I've got friends that are atheists right now, and I've heard them step aside and say, hey, Darryl, I know this is your belief.
Right.
I'm not going to stand in the way of what you choose. This is just how I feel. And I said, well, likewise. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think when you're working with the youth or any individual, just to empathize and be in their sense of living is a good thing to do. I'll say this. I remember talking to you some months back, and you talked to me about the dynamics of the people or the children in your group, and there were so many different ones, but they were all wanting the same thing, starving for guidance, starting to know how they find their foothold in this world.
Yeah.
So I commend you for that.
Yeah, it's a tough task because, like you said, you have nationalities, gender, things going on now.
Yeah.
And then, and it's like, I hate to say it like this, but it's a reality. Religion is at least our worries at sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to get past the person before you even get to that cult when you just talk about someone's spirit and heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. I joke about growing up. I said, because it was a bunch of black Catholic kids going to St. Gabriel's.
Okay.
I went to St. Gabriel's.
Okay.
And the majority of that school were minorities.
Wow.
Starting out, and it was in the middle of the hood. But we was Catholic. It was going to do Hail Marys and stuff.
Wow.
On Wednesday, and it was funny, like you said, and I wasn't sure. I never asked my mom what was the dynamics of that, but I think the dynamics was coming out of desegregation. We was only a few years out, when I was young.
Yeah.
So they had closed most of the black schools in these areas, and I think, as your parents, they have better for you. Some parents do,
Yeah.
So they was like, well, we're not going to put him in this environment starting out his early years. So I think it was like K through second, I went to Catholic school. and like it was different.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
It was different. However, it was a lot of people I grew up with that went to school there, and you know, I don't think it was about religion because we grew up Holiness and Baptist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I don't think it was about religion. I think it was more or less about safety, mentality, security, and just allowing them for being from this culture to be over there. Because them nuns didn't care about nothing but you doing your work
Right.
in that ruler. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So
I've
I
seen
think
the
that's what it's
movies.
about. Yeah, that's what it was about. And they did not play over there.
Right.
They didn't play. So I think now we have so many different aspects of life. And the thing with Drewski, a lot of people didn't like that.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately, it was a harsh reality because he can't mimic what he hasn't seen.
Right. Right.
And that was a mimicking of something that's out there.
And when I first saw that, I took that post and I forwarded it to a lot of my family members.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I said is, Drewski going to hell. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-mm.
as I looked at it, and
Had
I
nothing to
said,
do with
he's not mocking the church, but he's mocking
individuals.
the people that are bringing the message to the masses. And then I immediately just went back in time and remembered several pastors that I've seen that basically did the same thing. So I get what he's
What he
doing,
doing?
and I think it was
Take
like,
for example, Living Color back in the day
oh yeah,
when what was that? Jimmy Swaggart had got caught. With
oh yeah, yeah.
and they made it.
I
They,
have
they,
seen.
right, right. So it's no different than that.
True.
It's no
True.
different now. Instead of you having to be able to turn to it, it's instantly
Right
come
there
to
in
you on
your
your
face. In your face.
phone, in your face.
Yeah.
And that's the harsh reality. And it was funny to me. It was
Yeah.
funny. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think what's the old saying? The hurt dog barks.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit dog will holler. So let me close this with saying,
Mhm.
Charlemagne, I know that you're an advocate for the youth. I've seen the positive things that you've done.
Mhm.
And again, all I can say is keep doing what you're doing, brother, because
Yeah.
it's really, really needed.
Yeah.
And I look forward to the future because there's some things that you've asked me to do, and we have some conflicts. But you know what? Time is of the essence,
Oh, yeah.
and you know what? Sometimes we can't put aside the things we need to do.
Right.
So that's my last closing word. But if you would tell people more about your podcast
Yeah.
and how they can, what's coming up for 2026,
Right.
and the things that you feel you need to do.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm an advocate for kids and the veterans as well. Me being a veteran, this is my first podcast, Brick City. I also have Over and Out Veterans Podcast, where we talk about veteran entrepreneurs. And I'm actually going to Myrtle Beach February of this year to mentor some veterans starting their own business because I do consulting and coaching as my primary source of income as well. So I'll be going down doing that, and as we discussed offline, I think this is going to get me back to getting back, doing podcasts and getting back and getting some interviews and things, because I think people need a outlet now, because you're dealing with so much turmoil in our country, unfortunately. So I think something positive would definitely be good, and that's why I'm going to come back 2026. And you can reach out to me, charlemagnemccarter.com, and that has all the business information, podcast information if you want to reach out. Also have a book, Unbreakable, that you can purchase on Amazon. It's a men's journal. Ladies, I'm gonna come out with something for everyone later on, but this men's journal is the main thing. I want to, I'm an advocate for men as well. Just us having conversation because we don't have conversation enough. And and it starts with yourself. I think the reason we don't have conversation with others, because sometimes we don't even trust ourselves to have a conversation. So that journal allows us to build that confidence within ourselves. So people just stay positive, and that's me in a nutshell. Like I said, follow me on all platforms, and hey, look forward to connecting with you.
Well,
Appreciate the opportunity.
Charlemagne, thank you. It's been a pleasure whenever we talk. It's
Yeah.
always enlightening and engaging.
Yeah.
So I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Sure.
And again, let's go to the Brick City.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Build intelligent culture.
Amen. Amen.